Yes, I know. There's a new Godzilla movie on the way. Godzilla Resurgence. And I know the Japanese title is Shin Godzilla or Shin Godzilla. What's Shin? From what I've read, Shin is a triple entendre meaning true, new, or God. So Godzilla, I'm calling it Godzilla Resurgence. The reason it's a big deal is because it will be the first real Godzilla movie in 12 years. What I define as a real Godzilla movie, it simply has to be made in Japan by Toho. It's like champagne. Anybody could make their own and call it champagne, but unless it's from Champagne, France, it's not real champagne. Also, Godzilla needs to be an actor in a rubber suit. There can be some CG enhancements to the suit, which is what they're doing, but as long as there's some actual physical monster acting happening in front of the camera, it qualifies. The 2014 movie from Legendary Pictures was a good attempt. I celebrated at the time because it was either that or nothing. But it wasn't Toho, and Godzilla was completely CG. It never felt official to me. Was it better than the first American version, the one from TriStar in 1998? Well, it was closer to the traditional Godzilla, but we shouldn't have to compare it to that. That version strayed too far. He doesn't look like Godzilla, he doesn't breathe fire, and he's killed by missiles. Toho responded right away with Godzilla 2000, even after they killed him off in '95 with Godzilla vs. Destroyer. Destroyer! They said that was going to be the last one, but after the TriStar version, they couldn't stand for that shit, so they brought him right back. Now, history has repeated itself. Once again, they're bringing the true Godzilla out of hibernation in response to a mainstream Hollywood version. But here's where things are different. This time, the American version was a hit. It's getting a sequel, supposedly, with King Ghidorah, Rodan, and Mothra. And not only that, there's going to be a new King Kong movie. And then, by 2020, a rematch of King Kong versus Godzilla. Wow. Cinematic universe is what they call it these days. From where I come from, it's called versus movies, and it's about fucking time. You know, that concept is not new. They've been doing it since the 40s. Frankenstein meets the Wolfman. How ingenious. You make a Frankenstein movie, you make a Wolfman movie, and then, after both characters have been introduced, you make a movie with both of them. Only now, thanks to Marvel, has this idea finally caught on, like wildfire. So anyway, there's a whole series of Hollywood Godzilla movies coming. Meanwhile, a new Toho film. For the first time ever, there are two Godzillas at the same time. Here's where I'm concerned. Godzilla Resurgence has a release date for July 29th in Japan. If this is coming out here in the US or anywhere else, there's not much time to promote it. Unless we get a very delayed release. We finally got a trailer, but the trailer was clearly marketed for Japan. It looks promising. There isn't much plot information. The dialogue is all muted with only music as the soundtrack, which, by the way, that music is really something. It makes me feel the foreboding threat that a Godzilla film should. I wonder if that music is actually part of the film. There isn't much to comment on other than Godzilla himself. He looks terrifying, sort of undead like a zombie Godzilla. It kind of reminds me of his wounded appearance in Godzilla vs. Destroyer, where he's literally having a nuclear meltdown. I'm really curious to know what's happened to him. I have some ideas, but I don't want to spoil them in case they turn out to be true. Anyway, I've been very concerned from the start how they're going to handle the US release. Let me take you back to Godzilla 2000 again. This movie came out in Japan in December of '99. It didn't come out in the US until August of 2000, and when it did, it bombed. And I don't mean like the TriStar version. And that movie, even though people didn't like it, it made money. It was the highest grossing film of '98, just underneath Armageddon and Saving Private Ryan. But this one, hardly anybody saw it. It was a movie made for the true Godzilla fans, but the general public was confused. Some people thought it was a sequel to the TriStar version. I was working at a movie theater at the time. I saw firsthand, opening day, it was dead. And the only time I do remember seeing a small group walking out of it, they were saying, why don't the words match the mouths? And I wanted to fucking kill myself. It's my belief that the distributors are worried that it's going to confuse people. Or even worse, if it comes out and it bombs, it might hurt the Hollywood Godzilla sequels. I would have guessed Legendary Pictures would have had some kind of exclusive rights to both Godzillas in the US on how they want to market it here. But apparently, from what I've heard, it's been picked up by another company, New World Cinema, after many other distributors passed on it. According to a Facebook post, they're working hard to get it to every state. That's good to hear, but how long will it take? For something as major as Godzilla, you can't release it in one part of the world and then expect the rest of the world to just patiently wait. The people who want to see it are going to see it one way or another. It could be the most illegally watched Godzilla film ever made. Godzilla 2000 had an 8-month delay, but in this day and age, you can't pull that shit. One thing I heard was that it's getting a DVD release in 2017. Hopefully that's after a theatrical release, but right now, as it stands, at its best, it's coming to DVD in 2017. Yeah, DVD. No Blu-ray or digital release planned yet. It seems like none of this was thought out beforehand, as if Legendary and Toho were like, hey, we're making a film. Wait, you're making one too? Who's doing what? What's going on here? I can see why the general public would be confused, but if they promoted it correctly, it could have worked. If they made it clear, and if they said something like, from Japan, from the original Legendary studio. Wait, Legendary, you can't say, damn it, now I'm confused. Bottom line, I think this is a movie that only Godzilla fans will see. I don't imagine this being a mainstream success here. It's a shame that the general public only sees Godzilla movies when they're made domestically. Toho tries really hard to compete to make their own film and show the world what Godzilla truly is, but they're only proving themselves to themselves. Let's see what happens. I'll review the movie when I can.